Freedom Readers for quite a while now, who's going to just come and briefly share a little bit of her experiences. Y'all give it up for Michelle LaRosa.
Hi everyone, thanks for coming. My name is Michelle Rocco. I'm an assistant team leader at Team Gordon. We are in Murrells Inlet, and I've been there for about 3 years now. And so, along the theme of comprehension, I was going to share with you one little activity or tip that I do with my scholar, one of my scholars, who's got a lot of students, so they're all very excited. And I call this, in my head, I call it, I didn't steal the car. Because if you've ever done any public speaking, or if you've ever done any acting, how we say words means different things. I didn't steal the car. 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 And those all the same words mean exactly, or means the same 5 words in a row with different emphasis means entirely different things. But we can also get the same emphasis and the patterns of the words in the book also tell different stories. And so I have a scholar, and so this is a tip, we talked a lot about emergent readers before, this is maybe the next level reader. And so she is a great reader. She's so happy to be reading that she reads as fast as she possibly can. So for example, a section of a book, she would do something like this. I made a growly face at her. I do act like a little lady who's done Bunny Lucille, and don't say that again or I'll knock you on your can. Mrs. did a frown at me, just kidding, I said quickly, except for Mrs. kept on frowning and maybe punishment for sitting. And, whoa. So, punctuation, commas and periods, reading those also, and as well as there's italics, and always say, what is that? Those letters look different. What does that mean? Italics tell you to read with emphasis. And so I say, okay, you read that paragraph or even a couple lines, let's read it again. Go back and read it like you're acting it out. And this is where the I didn't steal the car game comes into play. So I made a growly face at her. I do act like a little lady who done Bunny Lucille. Period. And don't say that again, or I'll knock you on your can. End of quotation mark. Mrs. did a frown at me. That's the teacher's name. Just kidding. I said very quick, except for Mrs. kept on frowning, and then she gave me a punishment. Punishment is the school word for sitting at a big table all by yourself. So reading it slowly actually is much more indicative of getting a good comprehension level, or a way to get to comprehension once you get past reading the words. And so, having my scholar act it out or say it aloud like it's a play or something has really helped her in recent times become, she's great at reading the words, but now it's helping to improve the comprehension. So I didn't steal the car.
Thank you so much, Michelle from Team Gordon. Next, we were going to just talk a little bit about stages of reading development. I am going to kind of skip through that part because I can talk to you about that when you come visit me at my station in the back. But we've already talked about emergent readers here, and we'll just look a little bit at transitional and fluent readers when you come visit me at the table in the back. And there's just a few things to note about how we pick books for that. So at the station that you'll visit me at today, we'll talk about how to pick books for different types of learners. So you've heard a lot about emergent learners. What types of books, when I am in my Freedom Readers library, should I pick for this learner? We should not ever send our scholars to pick books by themselves. You as a tutor should be going with that scholar to pick books so that you can make sure that they're picking books appropriate for their reading level, or books that you will then in turn read to them. So we'll talk a little bit about that when we get to Midsession. But right now, we have our newest member of our staff, which is Donna Davis. Have you been formally introduced to anybody?
No, okay, so a few faces know me, but
All right, so
probably don't.
you guys have to meet this awesome lady. You may have received emails from her, but this is Donna Davis. She is our volunteer coordinator, so she's the one who kind of coordinates some of the volunteer things. Make sure that you have information when you send in those applications and things like that. They get routed through that office, and so I wanted you to meet her, but she is also, I'm going to say, an expert when it comes to reading. So she's done work in her previous role as reading recovery, reading interventionist, and so she's just going to share with us a little bit about some simple and engaging ways to help our scholars, and then she'll have some activities that you can practice at one of the stations in just a few minutes. All right, so please welcome our newest member, Donna.
Okay. Well, good afternoon. I want to start off, maybe morning, almost afternoon. I want to start off by thanking you for coming, by your participation today on this Saturday. I know you're just as excited and devoted to freedom readers as I am. I might touch on a few things that have already been mentioned, and we'll just kind of go with it, but it'll be, you'll hear it again. Some of you probably ask, and I've heard that a lot today, how can I help my scholar increase reading comprehension? There are a lot of different ways. I decided to focus on decoding and fluency, because it's a circle that continues. They need to be able to decode so that they can understand in their sentences, and that will develop fluency. And then with that comes the comprehension. And then back again, as they progress in their comprehension, there's going to be new vocabulary words, harder things to decode, and it just kind of continues. So they kind of have to have that foundation of decoding, but it continues throughout their reading span. All right, so teaching decoding skills. Okay, some of the ones I want to focus on is building phonics, phonemic awareness and word attack strategies, development of sight words, and extending their vocabulary meanings. With the building of the phonics, what are phonics? It's a method of teaching by correlating sounds with letters or groups of letters in an alphabetic writing system. Dr. Sheffield talked a lot about emergent readers, and emergent readers need to know these things, but we have several scholars at the site who are not really even there yet. They do not recognize the letters, and they do not recognize the sounds. And then I just want to emphasize that even though a child may be in third grade or 10 years old, that doesn't rule them out from not being an emergent reader. It is so important to understand that, because I think sometimes we go into something with an expectation of that child, and even though they're in an older grade, they still need these. It never hurts to just go back and start and figure out what exactly you can help them work on. The scholar must know, and I'm a little nervous, sorry, must know the name of each letter and the correlating sound. I already said those things, excuse me, I'm sorry. I had those bullets on there, but I was rattling them off also. Okay, to build phonics, okay, looking at the letter, tracing it, saying the name of the letter and the sound it makes, using different media such as, and Dr. Sheffield touched on that with the auditory and the visual, adding in that kinesthetic. And so this is some of the activities that I brought in today just to kind of show you. These will be the door prizes, and I picked all this stuff up at the dollar store, and you can just make a lot of it. So first off, we've got our whiteboards. Okay, just at the dollar store, it's $1. One of the activities that my students always enjoyed was writing their letters or their spelling words or any blend combination. We were learning in shaving cream, so I just have a regular crepe here, smear off some shaving cream, give them some rules. You can only use one hand and one finger, but let's say we're working on the aw sound spelled A-U. You would have them go A-U, aw. And this has been sitting out a while. Usually it's more creamy when you first put it on. Ah. A-U, ah. And we're saying it all together, but you could do this with their, like I said, the sight words or just the letter sounds. Also, another strategy that I use is sand. And if you put just a tiny bit in there, and these little containers are good because in the middle it's raised a little bit, and if you have just enough to cover the bottom, again, they can go in there, and let's say we're working on the letters, they can do D, and trace it. And you can't see in here now, but you'll be able to practice it. The letter is clearly formed there. But adding that tactile really kind of helps cement the letter names and sounds. Some other activities could just be matching the name of the letter to the sound that it makes. You could tell them a sound and then tell them pick out that letter out of this foam board with the letters on there. What are phonemic awareness and word attack strategies? It's the ability to notice, think about, or manipulate the individual sounds in words. I put just a little sample of some of the syllable rules. We do have a handout, and I put things up here. The syllable rules up here are going to be for your 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders as that word gets harder and they are segmented apart and trying to understand how to decode those multiple syllable words. There's a little trick here. Just spot the word and spot the vowel sound and dot it. So there's lots of things on there for different age groups of doing the syllabication and helping sound out the words. Okay, so to build phonemic awareness, they have to look at the letters, knowing the corresponding sound they make, and then blend them together to make a word. Can be cemented to visual and auditory understanding of the word by adding those tactile moves, such as, again, using your whiteboard, the shaving cream in sand, or in the air with a pointer tool. And Dr. Sheffield talked about that. If children do things with a gross motor skill movement, it will eventually trickle down where they can do it better with the high motor skills. For example, if we were working on the alphabet, I would get up with the child, and I have pencils, I believe, over there that are going to be like for the pointers, but this is also, I got this at the dollar store, and I would just start with A, B, and right behind me, I would have the scholar going and doing the same thing. But that gross motor skill will help cement the idea of those letters. Once they have a good understanding of that, then you can start working on the sounds. Okay. Also, as part of building phonemic awareness, it's to teach word attack strategies such as chunking, blending, and syllabication rules. All right, I'm going to show you an example. That's a great question. All right, so some of the things that are examples of these blends and digraphs. For example, AI and AY, they need to know that that makes the long A sound. And it's that combination together. Your digraphs would be things that don't have the individual sounds that you think they would, because we don't say, we say ch. Okay, so those are digraphs because it makes a whole new sound. And then your blends are where you hear a little bit of each word, but they go to each sound, but they go together quickly. All right, so for chunking, Liz asked about that. It's where they break the word apart and look for pieces that they know. So this is the segmenting that Dr. Sheffield talked about. So right away with the word today, your scholar might say, oh, I recognize the word day. And then they also say, oh, that's the word too. And so they're breaking it apart, learning and, saying the ones that they know, and then putting it together to try to figure out the word. Your child looking at the word hamburger might say, oh, I see ham here, and then I see the burr, and then gur on the end, and then they put it together. The word forgetful, they say, well, I see the word get there in the middle. I know that full is a suffix, because that's one of the types of words that things that we teach in school, and so that's what the chunking is. Okay, breaking it apart to look for the pieces that they know in order to decode the word. Syllabication rules, that's where the handout comes in. Okay, so they're looking at the word. I don't think the word look is supposed to be there. Excuse me. Word has one syllable for every sound spelling. And so that's why I put them in red. For example, if I were teaching a classroom of students, first thing I would do is I would put my finger underneath the whole word of today and tell them to hold up one finger for each vowel, sound, spelling. So most of them, because you've already had to teach this to them, they would hold up the O, and then they would, one finger for the O, and then they would hold up one for the AY. When they look at outside, they probably would immediately pick out the I and the E, but then you would want to remind them of the rule that magic E is helping I say its long vowel sound. And then here's an example of those syllable break apart things, and that is on your handout as well. All right, the development of sight words. Practice words until they are known instantaneously on sight. Okay? Ways to practice. Flashcard. I love 3 things, and so I always would go to home improvement stores and pick up the paint swatches and take those back to my classroom, and the kids would love to write our vocabulary words on there, their spelling words, sound spellings that we were working on, and that was a freebie there. You could do a matching game with that also with using those cards. Another thing that I would use is if you're working on contractions. Here's another paint chip card, and it's got the 4 blocks on there. This one folds back. I put my apostrophe, and then the part that's left of that contraction, here are the 2 words, I am, and then when they put it together, they can see that it makes the contraction. And a lot of older students get confused by this. They'll see I, and they have no idea that it could be I would, I have. And so even if they're, a more advanced reader, sometimes they get confused by contractions, and that's something simple that you can work on with them. Okay, Dr. Sheffield mentioned our Fry's word list and the Dolch sight words, and those are some links there that you could go to. With the Dolch sight words, they've got them divided by grade level. And the reason it's so important for them to know the sight words, and the reason behind sight words, on a page of paper that we're reading, usually the person has to know by sight almost 100 words on that page. And that's what our sight words are. And if the students don't know that, it's very hard for them to read any kind of passages. And so it's good for them to learn those as they go on. And a lot of those, you can't sound it out by the sounds, like the word you. It doesn't sound like you, ooh, right? So that's why they just have to recognize it on sight. Okay, the connection of sight words to fluency. I think I already said some of those. Liz and I were having a discussion during snack, talking about even with ourselves, we like to see things multiple times, so it kind of cements in that we need to, that we can remember those. Same things with kids, 5 to 8 times. Dr. Sheffield might, I guess, talked about rereading that same book over and over, and that really is a good skill to have them do. The downside is if they don't make accurate first attempts when they encounter those new words, they get discouraged. And it's kind of right there when we sometimes start to lose them, because they need to know those sight words so that then they can focus their energy on decoding other words that they can sound out and the vocabulary that they need to be able to be a fluent reader. All right, so what vocabulary do I teach? Always try to preview. She talked about the picture walk. Even if there's no picture in the book, I usually have my students do a preview of the passage, and I'll call it like a story wall. And they're looking through there, and I always say, point out a word that you don't know, because if they don't know it when they're reading it, they may be able to sound it out beautifully, but it doesn't make any sense to them. They don't understand what it means. If it's a child that's just starting out and doesn't realize what words they may not know, I'll pick them out. But I'm working with a scholar at my site, and I have her go through and show me words, and sometimes she'll point to something, and she's like, I already know that word. And I'll say, well, give me the definition to it. And she doesn't. So, and then with those unknown words, what I will have sometimes students do, just have like a little book, and we take our 3 words, and they would just write it in here. And if she does it every week, by the end of the session, she's got a recording of all the words that we have. And it kind of teaches them a skill of how to break that word apart and learn more about it. And I've got that on the next slide. Even if you don't work on the vocabulary, you could work on reading terms, such as, and these were kind of the words on our little tags, character, setting, fiction, nonfiction, contractions. Those terminology that relate to the reading, if they don't understand that, you say, well, what's the setting of the story? Well, they have to know what setting is. I printed out some cards, and these are over there. Oh, you can draw another name. I forgot about that. And these I've been using with my tutor. And sometimes I let her do this, and then I'll pick out some, or she will. If you let them look at them, then usually they tend to pick out the one that's the easiest. But once she picks out the card, either during the reading or after the reading, I ask her, what is the setting of this story? And so it just kind of keeps her focused in a fun way, and that way I can tell her she's comprehending and following along what she's reading. All right, so this is what I was just mentioning about using the book for, of how I can extend the vocabulary meanings. Okay, sometimes you have to teach them the pronunciation of the word, And I would use the format. This word is, and say for example, focus. And then I would say, what word did I just say? Have the student repeat it. And then I would say, spell and read the word. F-O-C-U-S, focus. So we're breaking it apart, but then we're blending it back together with those sounds. With the word maps, here's an example here of one that I used to print out and use in my classroom, but you can make it as simple as just a circle and then some little extensions off of there. And if our word was focus, we put that in the middle of the word map. And then if they didn't know the meaning of it, I would kind of guide them to it and help them write it down there. But also thinking about synonyms and antonyms of the word. So anybody have a good example of another word that might be the same thing as focus? Concentrate. Concentrate, very good. Oh. Well. Oh, it's gonna, yeah, okay. So then we would write that there. I might have them put it in a sentence, or tell me a time that they could recall a chance that they were concentrating or focusing on something. And then the good thing about this is they keep it. And when you could get a bigger notebook and they could do more things on there. I think both and all of our speakers kind of touched on the part that reading and writing kind of need to go hand in hand. If they are able to read it and then write it out, they're going to have a deeper understanding of it. Okay. Oh, that's it. Okay. I want to just show you a couple other things up here that I picked up at the dollar store. And these are these little cubes. And I know we had some scholars who were trying to do some word building. And so I just had 3 cubes. And you could just call several names out if you wanted to. Just keep going with them. And for example, in Horry County, they always use the color red, usually to kind of show that that's the vowel. So I use the red for that. I put the vowels on there. And then again, like Dr. Sheffield said, be careful about the letters you put on here. I usually avoid putting G on the ending because then that can really get you some interest in words sometimes too. But then I would just say, okay, here's my beginning sound. They would roll it. They would roll their vowel sound. All right, so my word here spells pack. And so then they would try to sound it out and blend it together. And again, just each time saying, okay, here's and then blending it, okay? You could use these dice for the games that she has by just drawing on the little numbers yourself. And there are some of those over there for prizes to take home too. It was mentioned about getting something and just laminating it.
Sheet protectors are so much.
Sheet protectors. I was going to say, sheet protectors. And then I found these at the dollar store, and it's like a report cover. And so then you could just put it in heat. And I found that the report cover does a little bit better of erasing off. And so at our site, I'm going to have them leave it in here and then just put it right in there. They can write on it. You can use it over and over for that same tutor, but then you can also use it for other tutors.
What kind of markers do you put on?
Dry erase markers, yes. And then this little thing I picked up at the dollar store, and I thought, well, that's probably not going to work. I remember having a bigger one for my son, but actually it worked pretty well. And so again, this is something, because kids get tired of this. They use their whiteboards a lot in school now, so other ways to get them involved and engaged might be helpful.
And I love those little edges.
Yes. So, write on it, and it erases right off, and you can go on to the next one.
No, they use the white.
All right. I got all these things at the dollar store. Yes. Dollar Tree, yes.
Yes, Dollar Tree has a teacher's corner section where you can find all that stuff.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Thank you.
She mentioned the silent E or magic E. There's a visual cue for that as well. So remember when I showed you the E? So that's silent. So that's just one more visual cue so you can remember that silent. Now it's open, I know. So you just put a little blue there and attach your googly eye. A couple minutes to try, and they have a pointer for reading. It's like keep your eyes on the word, and they got an eye in there to track the print. So, but it's just a cute little way for them to remember. And then I have paper here if you wanted to make like a flip book. Again, so you would just take it, fold it this way. Hot dog fold, that's right. That's good. And then you're going to kind of do this to make it a trifold. And then you can make either the beginning, middle, end for retelling your story, or you can make the sound flip book where they're having to blend the words. You can use the same pattern for either. So this is a big emergent reader book. Or you can let them talk about Pigeon series. Mo Willem does a lot of books like this, and he also does Elephant and Piggy. These are books that would go in that category as well because they're full of lots of pictures, but just very few words. And if you notice, the words are usually in larger print. That's a signal like this is a book for an emergent reader, so they're going to have those types of books. Again, pictures, very few words on it that you could read to the scholar, and then there may be some that they will identify those sight words. Like on this page, they might identify which word you or I, and then they could read those words for you. So those are some examples of those emergent readers. And then with the transitional or the intermediate readers, they're going to be books that have a little more text, a little less pictures, full sentences. So we're starting to look at sentence structure. So they're going to have more sentences. It will have picture support, but not nearly as much. What else did I write on here? Richer vocabulary, so they're starting to have a little more vocabulary, but it's not as much text. It's a little more text than what we saw in maybe one of these other books. So as we look at the table, can anybody think of a book that you have read with a scholar that might be a transitional type of reader? That was So this is a pretty big category because you got a range of readers here. But again, you have pictures, but look how much text is here versus the emergent reader. A little more text. It's still simple text so that they can read it. And anytime you have the books with the numbers here, the different levels, those help you kind of identify where the students are. More text. Arthur as well. No, it does not. This does not indicate grade. On the back, it'll tell you high interest reader for developing readers, which would be our transitional readers. So you can look at the back. Arthur is another one that we would put in that category because again, it's going to have those pictures and relevant stories, not a little more text than what we saw in those previous books.
Plus they see them on TV too.
Right, a lot of stuff happening in these books. So we still have that picture support to help us identify the text, but it's also allowing them to start practicing some of their
Prompt and Toad is good because, it looks like it has a lot of words, but the words are not difficult.
There you go. So this would be one of those transitions.
Yeah, they feel like good.
See, this is what I really want you to think about. Let's not attach it to a grade level. Let's attach it to whether they're emergent, in the middle, transitional, or fluent. When we attach it to a grade level, we mess up because I have kindergartners who read on the 4th grade level, or a 3rd grader who reads on the kindergarten level, and so that will mess us up when we think about grade level. So let's think about the types of, if we're working with that student and we see they have emerging skills, we want to get some emergent type books. If they are very fluent, regardless of what grade level is, that's what we want to do.